During all the recent hubbub about the Oscars, especially in the conversations about Best Animated Feature, where we focused on the wonderful film Flow, I kept hearing about another film that a lot of people thought had been maybe treated poorly. And it sounded very interesting. So today I finally had a chance to watch Look Back, the 2024 animated film based on the manga of that title. And wow, it's really engaging. And while it did win awards in Japan, it probably should have been given more consideration worldwide. And that's because it is, it's pretty deep. It's a meditation not just on coming of age, as it's often billed, but on a very adult level. It's also about things like identity and the impacts we have on each other's self-image, often illustrated here within the film by the characters' reach deep into the internal lives of those they become attached to. And that's a really hard thing to do, to pull off in a film. And in an animated feature, somewhat on the shorter side especially. The runtime here, I think, is just under an hour. Oftentimes, to get that real penetration into the psyche of the viewer, we find ourselves looking to sometimes more long, ponderous films, ponderous in a good way, of filmmakers like Kurosawa or Kubrick or Tarkovsky or Bergman. But the last portion of Look Back challenges us on just as profound a level as, say, a film like Persona, maybe just a little bit in shorthand. Now, it starts out innocently enough. A young elementary school girl, Fujino, is seen truly in love with her art, drawing short strips for the school newspaper, obsessing over them in private to the exclusion of all else, then pretending, as a tween might, that she's so talented, she just whips out her comics in 5 minutes. She's got no real competition after all, and she is truly gifted, if a little bit immature. And we get a clue to her emotional development at that point, early on, when one of her strips depicts a young couple in an accident, swearing in that last dramatic moment to find each other and finally kiss once they're reincarnated. The tragedy of that loss in life to the young version of Fujino becomes just the butt of a joke, a cheap laugh, when the girl reincarnates and waits for her lover, only to receive that fateful kiss in the form of a kissy-mouthed asteroid colliding with the Earth and wiping everyone out. Aside from it being entertaining, an entertaining way to start the film, it shows the ground that Fujino needs to make up to actually come of age and understand the fleetingness and precious value of our lives. Enter another young artist, Kyomoto, a recluse with a severe anxiety disorder who can't attend school because she can't even leave her home, but is given one of Fujino's 2 spaces in the school newspaper because she also has some artistic talent. And lo and behold, on the first publication, blows Fujino's art out of the water, setting up a rivalry between them, mostly in Fujino's mind. Now, Fujino doubles down on her efforts to study art and to best her imaginary adversary, Kyomoto, only to finally give up, because Kyomoto is just too good. And after a year of dormancy, she's about to graduate elementary when she's fatefully tasked with the delivery of shutting Kyomoto's school diploma. So once at her rival's house, finding the door open and every wall and surface stacked with art materials showing off how hard Kyomoto must also work to be as good as she is, Fujino dashes off a mocking comic strip showing Kyomoto winning the prize for Best Recluse, for never entering the real world, making fun of her. The strip, unfortunately, slips under Kyomoto's bedroom door, and Fujino flees in a panic of embarrassment. But that one slip takes to Kyomoto like a spark, and she runs outside, awkward and unkempt, to reveal how honored she is to finally meet Fujino, saying how she's idolized her all these years, and she needs to know why she stopped drawing. Now, cut to the future, the two grow in friendship and in artistic partnership, putting out manga prodigiously and building a following as one combined artist with one pen name combined from their two names, which incidentally is also a play on the original author's name. And with the prize money and opportunities spread out before them, Fujino also draws Kyomoto out into the world, slowly building her confidence, chipping away at her fear of life, until finally Kyomoto sees herself as more than just the background artist for characters Fujino dreams up. She wants to fully realize her talent by attending art school on her own, instead of partnering with Fujino in the professional world. And here we see again Fujino has not yet matured enough to support her friend fully in this. That's a big step for someone with that much anxiety. But instead of supporting her, Fujino selfishly tries to dissuade Kyomoto and frighten her into remaining in her shadow. The two lose touch, and one day there's a report of a violent attack at the art school with multiple casualties. And sadly, Kyomoto is among them. And it's toward the latter part of the film where Look Back earns its true stripes as a movie to be reckoned with, as we get immersed into the mindset of an artist. The artist perhaps that's one part Fujino and one part Kyomoto, as Fujino visits Kyomoto's home again after the funeral and finds again the strip that she'd drawn originally that brought Kyomoto out of her room. She tears it up now, proclaiming art as useless, incapable of saving anyone. And yet pieces of that strip fall under the door again, are found by Kyomoto, surprisingly, who enters the hallway now, declaring maybe the presence of a ghost. So we are sort of through the looking glass here. Who's dead and who's alive? And we now find ourselves at the imagined scene of the school attack, in a reality where the two had never met. But instead of being killed, a heroic version of Fujino shows up and defeats the school attacker and befriends Kyomoto, but this time as adults. The adult Fujino, however, for never having met Kyomoto, is still a vacuous and self-absorbed young person because their two lives had never intertwined. Fujino, back in reality, blames herself for Kyomoto's death, her exit from the safety of her home, but also seems to sense that the two maybe also had the best possible influence on one another that they ever could have been destined to have. It's a bittersweet mix in the end, showing us that life often is more valuable for having been intertwined with others, sometimes even painfully, at the right time, even if we're less safe overall for that. And that's one reading of it. You may have your own. But the beauty of a film like this is it gives the viewer permission to look back at their own lives and through their own unique, perhaps myriad lenses and perspectives on their own past and take meaning from these perspectives going into the future. So this is a wonderful, rich film, generally thought to be for maybe 11 or 12-year-olds at the least, because of the tragedy at the school and the coming-of-age themes, which might be hard for anyone any younger than that. But there is no direct violence or iffy stuff, with only a brief cartoon glimpse of blood at the very beginning when we see that early comic strip in the school newspaper. But I really think it's at least a high school age film myself, in terms of when people really start to spend a lot of time thinking about their place in the broader world and embracing a more mature outlook on life. But if your younger kid is already into manga, then, maybe it'll be fine. But I'm really glad and I'm grateful to the people in my comments who called out this film recently, giving me a chance to find it. I found it on Prime. So if you have that streaming service, it might be a great moment for you to check it out for free, too. It missed the awards season largely, but that doesn't mean it has to miss your radar. So that's my quick look at Look Back. Thanks again to everyone who's shouted it out, and I'll see you again soon.